Welcome to Women in Leadership Talk, where you'll hear from successful women who are empowering other women with their stories of adversity, resiliency, and success. And here is your host, Vicki Bradley, founder and CEO of Women in Leadership Empowered.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Thank you so very much for joining us today. We are grateful to have you here, and we have two guests today. We don't often do that, but these two powerhouse ladies are going to just fill us in on this beautiful passion they have. We have Carolyn Pritchard and Lorie Spence joining us. Ladies, welcome. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, Vicki.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you here, and thank you so much for taking the time today to be here and just sharing some of your journey. And audience, I'm going to give you a little background on these two ladies so you have a sense as to why did Vicki invite them on the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. So Carolyn Pritchard is on a mission to improve patient care. She's a spirited advocate who's been working to improve people's experiences in the healthcare system for more than 20 years. She's extroverted and energetic. Carolyn has always been motivated by serving others. She's a relationship builder with a knack for connecting people and making them feel cared for. Her North Star is to improve the patient experience and makes her a skilled negotiator and fuels her drive to get things done. She's previously been a registered nurse and her current role as a trusted leader in healthcare communications. So we're going to get more into Carolyn here in just a few minutes, but I want to make sure Lorie gets her spotlight as well. Lorie's on a mission also to improve patient care, which is how these ladies came together. She is a clear-eyed strategist with a deep understanding of what healthcare professionals need to deliver better patient outcomes. Her exceptional ability to anticipate the future is balanced with a pragmatic approach to educating and informing healthcare practitioners in the here and now. She excels at identifying opportunities quickly, developing a deep understanding of a problem space, and using that knowledge to push for ambitious strategies to solve real-world problems. These ladies are co-founders of Bridge Medical Communications. Ladies, welcome. Your background's already, I already have some insight to you, but I'm excited for our audience to learn more about you. And let's maybe just start. Carolyn, I'll start with you, but how did you ladies come together and what was that driving force to, really start to bridge the medical communications?
Thanks, Vicki. So I would say both Lorie and I, when we met, it's probably over 20 years ago, we're both very motivated in our careers. We were both coming from agency background as well. I was working in the pharmaceutical industry at the time, and we were motivated in the work we were doing, which, we felt had purpose, working with healthcare providers. And then we really wanted to do better. And so that's, I think, the opportunity we felt that we could do on our own as entrepreneurs.
Wow. Amazing. And we all need help, right? Like, how do we give to our world and make it a better place? And so I love that you ladies have picked this particular passion. And Lorie, what about you? What was your driving force?
I think similarly to Carolyn, having been working for a larger company for a long time and being able to, put some innovative ideas out there, adapt to the landscape. I think our focus has always been very domestic focused on Canadian healthcare providers and being able to do that. And on top of that, I think working in a larger agency, we were allowed to have a little bit more autonomy on how we wanted to serve not just our business offering, but even with our own, navigate our lives, navigate how we wanted to have a agency run as two female leaders. So I think that was something that really got us moving in that direction.
Nice. And how long have you ladies been doing this particular business?
We've been, Bridge has been going since 2011, so we're coming up on year 14. So we're very proud of that. And, in 2020, we also launched a new division called Connect, which was our patient division. So we continue to really evolve where we're going in the marketplace in Canada and adapt to where the healthcare needs are going.
Okay. Well, and I mean, in today's world, like that's sort of like we need almost a crystal ball, right? Like, where are we going and how are we going to navigate it? And so many different complexities, but also so much incredible innovation that's coming at us all the time. So if we were to go a little bit deeper into that drive, so like Lorie, if I asked you more about your personal story for that drive, what would you want to share with us?
I think one of the things I'd be really happy to share about my personal drive is really this ongoing learning. And I think working in healthcare communications, which is really a foundational around continuous learning, because everything is adaptive, iterative, and we need to really continue to evolve with that. And so being able to lead an organization that has that as their value. And I think it's interesting. Carolyn and I very early established our values, and one of it is really around excellence, advancing, learning. And so it's really if you think of something that leads us forward and not sitting back and reacting, that we want to be able to lead that forward.
Oh, I love what you just said there about reacting, because we often will knee jerk react, right? Which creates a whole slew of other issues. And when we can pause the ship a little bit, we have time to think more methodically about how do we want to respond in these situations. And that's tough sometimes, especially in healthcare, because you have so many things coming at you at once, right? I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was talking about, and I might not have the terminology right, but it was talking about rapid cancer. Have you heard this? Um, it's like a new form of cancer that's happening. That's like, where before, like if you had breast cancer, you had time and there was like a sequence of things, but now this is like almost like a super cancer. And I'm not trying to digress, but that's an example of things are happening so fast, and trying to stay on top of that is quite complex. And so you ladies have endeavored into this healthcare communications, which makes that, really hard to be on top of everything. So Carolyn, I'll ask you, like, oftentimes we all have a deeper story as to what drove us into the work we do. Like for myself, I spent 30 years in corporate environments, running major retail organizations, and then I had a severe health scare that happened, which led me to the path I'm on today in working with amazing women and telling their stories and helping them tell their stories. So was there some pivotal moment that you were really like, yes, like we need to create this, and here's what led me to this?
Well, I was reflecting on this, and thank you for asking, Vicki, about the personal aspect. I would say that as a young person looking for my career, my grandmother was a nurse, and my mother felt that this was a good path for me, because I would always have a job, and also the opportunity to travel and live abroad, which was something as a young person I was interested in. So I think at the time I also joined the Canadian militia and became a medic before I went to university to become a nurse.
Oh, wow.
And I would say that it was this opportunity to then, take that desire for caring for people into a profession. And I think when I entered the nursing career here in Ontario, Canada, it was a time when, in fact, it was very difficult to get a job as a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that time, I was looking for other opportunities. And that's when I started to sell medical devices and get that inspiration of, oh, this is, an opportunity to be, more in control of what I can do. So
Wow.
I think that these, there's many points in people's career and their life, and for women, where if you're open to seeing what those look like, you don't know where it's going to take you.
Yeah, so true, right? And I love how you shared that because, we're kind of in that place right now sometimes where, especially like our young people,
Yes.
it's very difficult for opportunities, right? And so they're getting discouraged. And so I love how you went, oh, okay, well, maybe I could do this. It's still in that serving and caring for others, realm of your passion, but you found a different way to do it, which probably has led you more to what you're doing today, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And I think, as Lorie, one of the values, as she was saying, in our company is knowledge, and her passion around, learning new things. I think that's where, you just build upon your base knowledge and learn additional skills.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, Lorie, maybe you could tell us more about why and how Bridge Medical came to be, and what's the why, right? What are you ladies really hoping your outcome will be?
I think it's interesting when you ask the why because it's really evolved over the years, Vicki. And I think when we started as two female entrepreneurs, like anyone starting a new business, just having that success of being able to pay your bills, survive through the year, hire some staff, that was like a big milestone. And then you start to settle into it. And I think that's where we started to have that aspiration of what could we do, and that's where the purpose piece became a lot more important for us. And even though that was there from the beginning, I think anyone who's an entrepreneur knows that great idea is there, but there's still a lot to make it happen.
Oh, yes. It's a lot. It's hard being an entrepreneur.
And I think that's the benefit of us being co-founders is we were able to navigate that together. And so as we've evolved, we started to, change our service offerings to be able to better maneuver through the landscape we were in as things changed in Canada, obviously going from small molecules to really targeted therapies, really that shift to patient-centered care and our launch of Connect. And as we evolve now, and become more senior women in our careers and not aging us, but, we really feel like we can offer a lot more in that mentorship and growth space and be able to give back a little bit more to support females wanting to rise up in the healthcare space.
Nice, nice. So I'd love to hear this from both of you, but what do you see as some of the biggest challenges today? And maybe Lorie, I'll start with you. There's a lot of complexity that's happening. So what are a couple of those things that you're seeing?
I think some of the challenges that we're seeing through the lens of Bridge is really, as you said, things are moving fast and furiously, and which is both a blessing and a curse because, therapies are being identified and researched very quickly, but is allowing patients to get access to them and having providers be knowledgeable on how to administer them. And one of the things that we're trying to do is get ahead of that by really mapping what's that patient care path, how can we support where the disruption's taking place, and be able to have more point of care solutions to help providers. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to do to help mitigate, that lag between, these great innovations that are coming and the systems being able to integrate them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one, right? Like I know one of my specialists, like he's just now at that place where, well, I shouldn't say just now, like in the last 2 years where he does my summary electronically, right? Where before you wouldn't get anything. And I think that was a big leap just in itself, just because of the red tape, like even in the, in the systems and trying to integrate those systems. So for sure, I can see how that would be one of those. And Carolyn, would you add like other challenges that you see that are presented to us today?
I could just speak to, over the years, in our interactions with healthcare providers, we have seen a trend where, female providers aren't necessarily out there with the opportunities for continuing education in their profession. And we know that, it's difficult for them if they have young families, So this is an area where I think we see more and more opportunities for women to get involved in those activities.
Okay. Yeah. And that, I would agree with you on that. Like I'm seeing some of that too, where especially like the med tech space, like there's a lot of startups, there's a lot of innovation that's happening.
Yes.
And a lot of it is women that are experiencing a need, similar to what I was saying, even about my own story, right? Like I got really sick and I had to make some very drastic changes in my life, all for the best. I will preface it that way. But when you encounter something, right, it usually does generate a solution, right? Because you're looking at things and you're going, this is a problem, like both of you have done, right? Like we need to be able to bridge this communication because it's not happening at the moment. And so figuring out those things, and more women are coming into that, which I think is a really positive thing. One of you talked about parking egos, and I think Lorie, it might have been you, and how that's tough to do. So how do we do that? Because when we're an expert and all of our diplomas and work we've put into it has enabled us to really be like, I'm that brain surgeon, or I'm that cancer specialist, or whatever. How do we start to park that ego a little bit so that we can be more innovative and have an impact really on a greater whole? And maybe that's not a fair question, but I'd be curious just to hear your thoughts on it.
Yes, absolutely. When it comes to things like, I know you reference it as parking ego. I think one of the things that having a co-founder, it actually probably is both, allows you to have a little bit more self-reflection. And so I think what Carolyn and I have been able to do over the years is really find a way to model that as entrepreneurs. And so, there's a little bit of humility, but also a little bit of self-awareness to really appreciate where other perspectives come in. And I think as co-founders, we have that opportunity versus maybe a sole entrepreneur that maybe doesn't have someone bringing that forward on a regular basis. And we have constantly worked through ways to be able to model that. It doesn't mean one of us is right or wrong. It's more what's the best solution for our clients, our staff, and our business, and how can we solve for it. And I think when you take ego off the table, you're more looking at the best outcome. And that's really what every time we get into something as, a discussion, it's what's the best outcome.
Nice.
And if you start with that, I think the rest can, become a little bit of the underlying personality pieces that, make you who you are, but at the same time, allow for the solution to, come through strongly.
Yeah, you said a couple things there that I think are really important. One is how you balance each other, which I think is lovely. Actually, when I was asking the question, I was thinking more of like a doctor you might have to work with, that where sometimes the ego gets in the way, right? But I'm really glad you answered it the way you did, Lorie, because that's a really important lesson for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, even co-founders, right? Like really utilizing the strength of each other to help balance and view things more holistically versus sometimes we do, and all of us are guilty of this. We can get, focused on something so much so that we can't hear other things. And so you're very fortunate that you have that. I actually have another client who they were co-CEOs for many, many years. And one of the CEOs decided to make a move. And so that's been the one that's there now as the full CEO. She has said many times that I miss having that person, right? Even though there are challenges when you're partnering with somebody, but there's so many benefits to being able to bounce off of each other and help keep each other on the on the right path. I love that. So, Carolyn, I'll go to you on this one. So, why in our society today is it more important than ever to be empowering the patients?
Well, like yourself, with your own personal experience, I think everybody has an experience with their family where you have to navigate through the healthcare system, and it may be preventative, it may be, something that is more serious, but that is a difficult um, journey to navigate. And we have to provide people with the knowledge and the information to support them through that journey. It includes, even from my own personal experience, end of life, which is a navigation that a lot of people don't talk about, the resources out there that are available to people. So I think, also shared decision making is really important, because you have to listen to what's important to that individual, and really respect what they need. And although we have lots of treatments available for different things, that might not be aligned to their value. So this, I think, is a huge area of opportunity that we try to support through providing tools and resources. We work as a collaborative with stakeholder groups, with providers, and patients.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, you're right. Like every patient will be different, right? And what their needs are. Lorie, can you just expand on that a little bit more? Like Carolyn brought up some of the things that you ladies offer to help. Maybe no names, of course, but maybe give us a couple of examples of how you would help somebody to navigate. Because I think that's when I think about my own personal situation and one I'm going through right now with my mom, like there's a lot of complexity. She's, early stages of Alzheimer's, and she's in the States, I'm in Canada, and I'm trying to manage things as best I can from afar. And it is not easy. Like it's a really difficult, because there's an emotional component, but there's also the mental and the physical. So sorry, Lorie, give me some examples of how you ladies work with clients.
Absolutely. I think, even using your example, even with your mother, if that was in Canada, one of the things is that care path is changing dramatically as new therapies are starting to become available. However, a lot of patients aren't aware, providers aren't screening for it. So how can we help make that something that's more upstream? And so we can help by giving and providing, applications that do risk screening, or that people can actually be more prepared when they go into that patient visit with their healthcare provider to provide the information to be able to advance more quickly. Having information available on both sides, I think, is really important, and it's not just up to the provider, it's up to the patient. And so it's giving them the resources to collect that in a way that it's valuable to a healthcare provider that can make a decision for you. And even when it comes to treatment choices, and as Carolyn mentioned, the model has really evolved. I think all of us remember when we had a sole physician provider, and that was it. Now you go in, you see a nurse, you see a pharmacist, you see allied health that's supporting whatever the condition. And so with that, everyone has a different role, and it's really important to know who's supporting you on what piece. Maybe somebody's supporting you getting access to medication. Maybe someone's supporting you on how to actually take your medication. And so as a patient, understanding all of those steps is really important, and knowing which provider to utilize so that we're really optimizing the system, I think, is important. And those are some of the solutions that we help to provide on behalf of our clients to different stakeholders and providers.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. Like when you were just saying that, it made me think about, it was back in the fall. I was with my mom at her neurologist appointment, and it was a nurse practitioner, not the neurologist. And personally, I thought she was brilliant. Like she was so good. But my mom is older and more old school. So just to validate what you're saying. And my mom was like, well, she's a nurse practitioner. I need the actual doctor. And I go, Mom, this woman is so knowledgeable. And like she had really like walked us through the steps and the things that were going to happen and for what I needed to be prepared for, which was invaluable. Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
there is some of that. I think if you're dealing with older patients, there is some of that thinking of, oh, I only want how it used to be versus, no, this person can help me. This person can help me. And we need to be able to do that. So I love that you ladies are helping to bridge that. I think that's so important because it gets frustrating. And especially if you don't have an advocate, right? Like you can become that person for them. So I know one of the questions I wanted us to talk about, because this keeps coming up in a lot of the groups that I'm in, is women's health. And, just the different challenges we have because it hasn't been studied as intently as men's health has been. So I'd love to hear some thoughts on, and if you can answer this, if you can't, that's okay too. But how do we start to change, making sure that we have people who are really understanding the impact to women when it comes to things like menopause, as an example. That one's a hot topic in a lot of the women's forums that I'm in, because it used to be, oh, she's just gone a little bit crazy. And, our hormones are wreaking havoc on us. And so what are your thoughts on that? Lorie, I'll start with you if that's okay.
Sure. I think one of the things is we are seeing quite a prominence in women's health, and it's coming from twofold. One is, the educated patient and, this generation of women who are very interested in their health and their outcomes. And I think the other side of it is there's actually therapeutic options that are starting to become available as well. And so you need both to be able to have that discussion, because one does not solve the other. And so I think we're seeing that rise on both sides. And also too, the female practitioner, as Carolyn alluded to earlier, is really becoming important because this is areas that they advocate for as well. And we have a really exciting initiative, and I'll let Carolyn explain it for us, but we are very committed to women's health and really wanted to look how we could support it. And, this has been an idea in the making, and we're really excited to be launching it.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I'm intrigued. Let's go, Carolyn. Tell me all about this.
Well, I can just say that, as you introduced me, I do like to attend conferences, and I like to be out there and see what's happening. And probably, more than a couple years ago, I attended a few Women of Influence. These are supported a lot by financial institutions here in Canada, and I was quite inspired by that. And recently I did attend the first annual menopause national show here in Toronto. And I couldn't believe like the people in attendance were so keen for information. And including myself, this is something, as Lorie alluded to, there is a swell. This is a women want more information. So bringing this into our realm, and I think this is where, this feeling of purpose and opportunity as an entrepreneur really comes up, is we are hosting our first annual Women's Health Summit, and it is for healthcare providers. It's in honor of International Women's Day, which is coming up in March, and our summit is on March 1st. And we went out to a number of sponsors to support this event, and it's been tremendous support. And we have key speakers, and our chairperson, Dr. Vivian Brown, who is an expert in this area, and other topics such as, there is a menopause, new treatments coming for that, and cardiovascular health, insomnia, I think obesity. These are topics that women want to hear about. And we're really thrilled to be having this event and see the opportunity in the future for ongoing and hopefully, more regional. We're going to kick this off here in GTA. But yes, I think that we want to support healthcare providers. We want to support the topic of healthcare and women. We're very excited.
Amazing. Amazing. That is super exciting to hear. And when you said insomnia, I was thinking, yeah, as I was laying awake at 3:30 this morning going, should I get up and go to the gym as soon as it opens? Right? Because so many of us, and then we're exhausted by like midday, right? And then we might have that extra cup of coffee or espresso, and it's like, it's very real. Like, and we, I know growing up when my mom went through menopause, like we really thought she had gone crazy, right? Because
Yes.
her mental capacity changed totally for a period of time. And I was terrified. I kept thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to go through this when I go through menopause? I didn't go through it that way. I went through it with the lovely weight gain and the sweats and all those kinds of things. But it's a real thing, and the more we can do to understand it and be proactive with it, I think the better, right? So I'm curious about your summit. It's only going to be healthcare providers.
It is.
Oh, that's unfortunate because so many people would want to attend. Maybe the next one, like the
Yes.
anniversary of it, maybe that's when you can invite more, because I think the public is hungry, right? Really hungry for information and trying to understand. At least that's what I'm getting from the groups that I'm in. Women in particular want to know, how do we combat the sleep issues? How do we combat the weight gains, right? And when you try things, and it's like, okay, but it's hormonal, which is a different way to have to go about it. Yeah, so that's wonderful that you ladies are doing that. Lorie, anything that you would like to add, like maybe sharing with us, why is that conference so important to you?
Yes, well, it's really important for me for a couple of reasons. One is, as you can see, Carolyn and I have this whole banter back and forth of how we can, bring these things forward. And she's always bringing ideas of like, we should do this, we should do that. And I'm always thinking of the practicalities. Well, how can we best implement it? How can we best serve our, customers, our providers? And I think what really is honoring about this Summit Empower Her is we're actually providing healthcare practitioners with access to some of these experts they may not get access
Mm.
to. And I
Mm.
know you're saying the public would love that too, and that might be something we consider as a future iteration, because I do think, as Carolyn said, the swell is there around women's health, women's knowledge, and being able to have more access to some of these experts and providers, I think is really important. And, that's what we're really just trying to do is create these opportunities, and this is a forum that we can do it in.
Nice, nice. Well, I love that you ladies are doing this, and this is a great step forward. So, congratulations on that. So we are getting close to wrapping up here. Maybe share with our audience, how can they find you? Like, where can they connect with you if they have questions, if they want to check out your website? Where would they go to?
Yeah, we can be found at a number of places. You can find Carolyn and I both on LinkedIn, both under Lorie Spence and Carolyn Pritchard, as well as Bridge Medical Communications. We do have a website for Bridge Medical Communications and connect.com. But we also are on Instagram, and we're excited to be there both under Bridge, and we do have an Instagram for our co-founders headquarters, and that's where we're really trying to support just the entrepreneurial side of what we do in addition to the health side.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And any last words, Carolyn, you'd like to share with our audience today?
I hope that this, conversation, and thank you, Vicki, so much for the opportunity, inspires women and young people to know that there are lots of opportunities, and you just continue throughout your career to build on your skills and to explore. And, as Lorie said, please reach out to us. We love to connect with people and network, across industries.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Yes. And that's where brilliant ideas come from, right?
Yes.
Like the whole med tech, there's just so much innovation, and it's the importance of what the summit you're doing. Like, that is so important because you bring people from so many different, even though they're all healthcare in general terms, but they specialize differently, can really create that magic that we need to happen. Yeah. Lorie, any final words you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I just iterate as Carolyn said. So thank you, Vicki, for having us both on and, really sharing our passion both for combining, healthcare opportunities with entrepreneurship. And that's really where we thrive.
Amazing. Well, thank you both. Super, super honored to have you here today. Thank you for being here and sharing your expertise and your passion. And, as Carolyn said, I hope this touches the audience as you're listening to this. Like if it sparks an idea or questions, like reach out. You can reach out to me. I can share with the ladies, reach out to them directly. This is really about how do we continue to learn and grow together. And so we are grateful to our audience for chiming in. We know you have choices as to what podcast you listen to. Please give us a review. Let us know what you think of these conversations. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. That's really important to us, and that's how we continue to grow. And if you're curious about your leadership, visit our Women in Leadership Empowered website and take our free leadership quiz. It'll give you some great insight as to how you're showing up in the world as a leader, and everyone is a leader. So thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for WIL Talk, sponsored by Women in Leadership Empowered. To learn more about our programs, please visit www.willempowered.com. We look forward to seeing you in our community.